The meeting will please come to order. This is a special workshop, City of Cross Lake, Wednesday, February 22nd, 4 p.m. at City Hall. Today we are going to talk about the appointment to engineering for the complete sewer plant upgrades and also proposals for city engineer. And what I've asked Ted to do is to give us a little historic background on the sewer plant since he's been here from day one, and then he will go through his recommendation, and then we'll open it up for questions or comments.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Back in 1983, I guess we started up our treatment plant. It has done a very good job in its life, basically almost going on 15 years. We meet all of the standards that we have. We have an issue with the flows, and when the plant was built, there was a pool of money that was at that time available, and they didn't want to go over. So there's some shortcomings of the plant. I don't want to blame anything on any engineers or anything, but we do have some issues with other things in the plant that we've identified. And it's time to address them because we're getting to a point where we're not going to be able to handle the summertime flows, and we are going to have a violation, and we don't want to start that with the state. That's the wrong way to go. We want to be proactive and try to get these things taken care of. So I identified a number of things. We reviewed it with our engineers, which was WSN. WSN did a report on the wastewater plant. I guess I wasn't satisfied with the report. I brought it back to you and asked permission to get a second opinion. We've gotten a second opinion from Bolton and Mink. I think it reflects more of the things that myself and my staff have had issues with in the plant, and addresses those issues and takes us for the next 25 years with correcting these issues. So it best meets our needs. So I guess with that is after, I'll just read my memo here. I think you all got a copy of it. After a careful review by the Public Works Director and his staff of Winsmith, Nolting, and Bolton and Mink, wastewater treatment capital improvements proposal is our recommendation to use Bolton and Mink proposal. Is based on the needs of the facility and what Bolton and Mink can give us. I didn't go into what this engineer charged per hour or that charged. This proposal met our needs, is what I had in front of me. So that's what I based it on.
So the proposal, less any dollar amounts, what they're going to do met what you needed done.
Yep.
Okay.
So I guess that was my recommendation and my staff's recommendation after we reviewed them, was to use Bolton and Mink and to move forward with the project as soon as possible so we get these things taken care of so we didn't get into another summer season where we're having issues.
Yeah, I spent some time looking at the cost between the two, and as far as I'm concerned, they're the same. And I can put this up if you guys want to see it. And I almost think there might be some safety margin on the contingency on the Bolton and Mink one, because it's a larger dollar value. But what happened is that WSN did not bid the equalization basin, which I think is an issue that Ted has dealt with. So if you look at these, I just put the WSN estimate down, their contingency, the engineering, and they came to 875. Then if you look a little further down, they're missing a generator to bring it to a comparable to Bolton and Mink of 75,000. The EQ basin they didn't address. And I'm sure there'd be some charge for engineering, and that's my guess of 20,000. And then there's the well estimate for the fire department that WSN had in there. So they end up with $1,590,000. If you look over at the Bolton and Mink estimate, the totals rolling down are $1,602,000. So that's kind of it's an estimate. And if you look up on Bolton and Mink's estimate on the contingency line, they've got $106,000 in contingency, which is a far greater number for missing things. Hopefully, we wouldn't use as much. So I think it's apples to apples.
Yeah, the big thing is WSN, the engineer who did the review, does not believe that we need the EQ basin. In my mind, we've had an issue with that since day one. What is happening is our flow is coming in, we're designed for 150,000 gallons a day. So that relates to about 150 gallons a minute. And we have flows in the summertime, and it'll start right after St. Patty's Day, as soon as it starts getting nice. And we have flows of 450, 500 gallons a minute, and they'll come in like that in the 8-hour day. So we make it under the design of 150,000, but we have flows like we're a 500,000 gallon a day plant, and we're not designed for that. So we need a way to take and carve out that piece of the flow, put it into this EQ basin, this tank, and then at nighttime, we don't have flow, bring it back, pump it back through the plant and treat it. And that's the difference between the two proposals, other than the generator and I guess both of them would kind of address the well, and they both had different ways of they were going to do that, so.
What is the size of that holding tank?
That's yet to be determined. Personally, I think it should be at least 50,000 gallons, a third of the volume of our flow, and that's yet to be determined with the engineers yet.
Well, if you're doing
Is that the fire
500,000.
department tank or the EQ?
No.
The EQ tank, the size of the EQ
Okay.
tank. And it's,
Yeah.
you got to remember, we're still going to use that 150,000 gallons a day is still going to go through the plant and at 150 gallons a minute. Anything above that then would get kicked to the EQ tank. So that's what I'm saying, is that size of that tank is yet to be determined.
Well, didn't you just say that was 400,000 or 500,000 or whatever it is
That's the.
on the peak?
Yeah,
on the
if
peak
we're,
days?
but that's only for that short time. So if you take the 150, it's more like you're going to take that 300 or 350 gallons a minute, and you're going to put it in there. And that's what I'm saying, we got to size the tank appropriately
Yeah,
for that.
well,
And that's yet to be determined.
See
So it might be 2 tanks. So in a slower day, you're just using tank 1, and you get into a peaking day where the 4th of July weekend, we need both tanks. So we're not, because you're going to have to aerate these things, you're going to have to keep them mixed so they don't go sour and septic on you. So let's treat them
Yeah,
as 2
no,
different units, so. And that's all, like I said, it's got to be changed or determined by the engineers.
And it's true that the output of the plant is fixed.
Yes, I
And
mean,
the
we could,
input is what we're dealing with. It's
Yeah,
like
I
a funnel,
understand.
it only goes out of the funnel so fast, and if you don't have more capacity to fill up the funnel, it's going to run over.
yes.
Just one quick comment. Before we continue, I forgot to ask the commission to introduce themselves. So Daryl, do you want to start, and we'll just go on down the line?
Okay, I'm Darrell Shannon, the chairman of the Public Works Commission.
I'm Doug Burzwell, the vice chair of the commission. Tim Berg on the commission.
Mick Sheeta, alternate.
Thank you. Okay, further discussion, comments, questions from the commission?
I believe that the commission has reviewed both of these proposals, and Ted is representing our recommendation. So at this time, the commission has nothing more to add to the selection of engineer to design the modifications for the wastewater treatment plant.
So I got to catch up a little bit, because I'm not plugged into what's going on there at all. But the project is $1.5 million for the upgrade to the sewer? Or
1.6.
1.6 for Bolton and Meg.
Okay,
For the sewer plant update.
yeah.
Right.
But that includes the well for the fire department, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly.
That was kind of
And
an
I may-
add-on. We
yeah.
could have pulled that out, but we all felt, I think with discussion, if I'm speaking correctly, that it's a good time to just get it done.
Yes, the well?
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
And that's going to go down at the garage?
Because they have water here, but if something happens at the bridge, they can't get this far. They need something on the south side of the town. And
The other thing
that's
is-
been discussed for a couple of years at least.
Yeah. The other thing is we do have emergency power, and this new generator will be sized so in event of a catastrophe, we can still fire up the well and keep it going. The other thing is the fueling system is down there, so that's where the fire department is gonna come and be taking their supplies out of. The other thing is we will like to hook this up so that we have a feed into the treatment plant also. And that way we are maintaining and keeping track of it, that everything's operating properly.
Yeah, okay.
Dave, do you have any more questions?
No.
Dave? Gary?
No, I'm ready to go with it.
Okay. Are we ready to make a motion from the council?
I'll make a motion that we accept the quote from Bolton and Mink.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Brad Nelson first, Gary Heacock second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on down the line, the next is we're going to talk about the proposals for the city engineer. And again, we have a recommendation from Ted Strand, so if you'd like to just continue on with that, Ted, then we can open it up for questions and discussion.
I discussed it with Shar and Mike, the administration, myself and my staff. And after we went through it, and we've all sat down and we reviewed all four of the proposals, we have a lot of work that's in progress right now with WSN, and it was our feeling, rather than getting into either a second or a third engineer, that we stay with WSN for this season, let them complete our projects, and it's Anchor Point, Melinda Shores, the right-of-way plots for both of those roads, maybe Dream Island if we get the funding. There's some right-of-way condemnation that's going down as part of that. We do have a comp plan going with NJPA right now. We just have a lot of work going, and to save some confusion, we'd like to complete this year and then revisit it this fall before we award any other work. And it'll give us a chance to see how we work well with Bolton and Mink. Maybe we want to make them as our city engineer, day-to-day engineer. But we would like to complete this year if we could with WSN, the project we have in play. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't award anything else if something come up, or, we would bring that to the council and review each of those items separately.
For right now, though, we pretty much got our projects in line for this coming season.
We got a full plate. We're going to be very busy summer, so.
At what point are the projects at? I mean, are they started? Did surveying started? What are we okay for surveying last time, the two roads?
We have
Is
right
that
now.
Winseth to go ahead
Yep.
and survey?
Yeah, and the survey's completed. They're in the process of design. In fact, I just came from their office, WSN's office, and we sat down with all of the utility companies that will be affected in the area, and we reviewed with them, so everybody was on the same page, and if they had any problems, or they want to put any underground in on these roads that we're going to be doing, this is the time to do it. So that's kind of where we are moving forward with these
So was that
things.
the last meeting that we approved the survey for the two roads of 22,000?
That was the right-of-way plot,
Right-of-way.
yes.
And that is complete now?
Well, they're in the process of it. It's in progress.
Okay.
Anchor Point, for example, they started working on back in early December, late November?
Yes.
They were up our road, because I
Well,
see
we
them
didn't
every day.
approve at least to my knowledge, we didn't approve them to go ahead and do it at that point.
It was approved by the previous council before you got on.
So then what did we approve last time?
This was the right-of-way plot. This is to clear up the ownership of the right-of-way. Remember, we had questions
Yeah,
about
okay.
Anchor Point, specifically Anchor Point and Melinda Shores. We know where there's some areas on there that who owns it, and we want to get those cleaned up before we get into a project and we get stopped in the middle of the project because somebody's coming out and standing in front of our equipment and said, no, you're on our property.
Okay, and that's what we did the last.
That's what you did
council
at the last meeting, is to get that right-of-way cleared up, and before we proceed with the project, we want to make sure we have the right-of-way.
meeting. Yeah, okay.
And a couple of those have already been contentious, shall we say. So we,
We
Ted
know we
is-
have two on
Ted
Anchor
is,
Point
yeah,
alone.
two for sure, so that's why, you know, with the scope and size of the project, Dave, it was just, you know, it was a matter, and I know you're getting caught up, a matter of making sure that those right-of-ways and everything was clean so that these people aren't standing out in front of the bulldozer again.
I'm trying to, I'd like to try somebody else. I'd like to get a new set of eyeballs on everything, you know? So I'll just be blunt and throw that out on the table, and that's where I'd like to start with. And I don't know how much of a can of worms that'll create for you,
Well,
and at what point of the work are we at? You know, I mean,
well, I mean, we've done surveying, we've done, and it's all our property. I mean, you could take at any time and pull this stuff and give it to somebody else, and it's our property. So at any time, you could do that. I was just trying to make it easier for this year.
Commission, do you guys have any questions or comments?
I believe that the commission's feeling is that we should stay with WSN at least through this season. We've invested a whole lot of time and effort in this process. We started the process last fall so that we could get the best going bids out on the floor so that we could get the lowest cost for road improvements on some very large road projects for the city. And so it's in the best, we believe it's in the best interest of the city to stay with WSN at least through the 2017 construction season.
We're looking at these projects that we're on a track that this stuff would be bid in March. And right now to take and pull it out, go to somebody else, it would delay it a couple months, I would think. And that would put us into a different bidding season. It would change, you know, the pricing we would get because everybody else is bidding at this time. So we're trying to get the best price we can.
Dave, I think that, you know, I've been quite vocal about the fact that I would like to see a fresh set of eyes on all this, and some of the excuses that have been used in their favor, not excuses, but comments that have been used in WSN's favor about they've got the history. Well, nobody's ever going to have the history if you don't change. But I'm very supportive of what Ted's bringing to the table, what the commission is saying, and that, you know, we're going to get a chance to work with Bolton and Mink for the first time. We've just approved that. You kind of get a feel for somebody, but these projects have been rolling considerably already. You know, I mean, we've already, and you know, they've got their feet on the ground and they're ready to go, and you know, I think, you know, with Ted's comments and the commission study of it, you know, I'm going to support the commission and Ted on the fact that we've already been kicking this can down the road. We've got these projects rolling, and we need to keep them rolling. Need to keep this on time before petroleum goes that way and these road costs go that way, and so.
I don't disagree with the council a bit that it's time for a fresh set of eyes. I just want to try to get completed what we have open right now.
What we've got working.
Yeah, and it could be Bolton Mink, it could be an SEH, it could be the WSB, it could be any. I've worked with all of these firms, and they're all good firms. So
Dave or Gary, do you guys have any comments or questions for Ted?
I can see where you might want to finish up projects that you've got on board, but I would not award them any more projects. I have not been satisfied with what they've done over the years. And I guess one of the biggest disappointments was when they wanted $8,000 to lean on a shovel to inspect the work that they had spec'd out. I think they've been taking us through the cut, and that's my feeling on them. I think that anything that comes up, I would not name them the city engineer at the point.
no, I'm not making a
I
recommendation
don't
as
want,
far as
I don't
that.
want them named city engineers, my point. They can finish up the project they got, and then we to make a decision on who we're gonna go forward with.
And that's what I was saying, if we
Or
have
do we
another
wanna bring
project.
somebody in
Yes,
as a city engineer that can keep watching, keep an eye on things?
yeah, and that's what I would bring forward. If there's something that came up, I would bring forward as a different proposal for you.
Dave?
I agree with what Mr. Nelson stated. I don't work with these people every day, and that's why I'd asked you, and I commend you for making a recommendation, because the people in the staff are the ones that are going to have to deal with these people, not me, not any of us. We just see the results, and you know, they've been with us for 20 years. I looked at the proposals. I think those two are equal. I'm almost thinking that we'll get a little better deal out of Bolton and Mink on cost, because they said they would not charge for all meetings. But I do agree, it's like, let's see how this sewer plant goes. And I don't know how we word the engineering contract,
I'd have to rely on Dan for
but
that.
that doesn't mean that we come fall, when we pick, the commission makes a recommendation on roads for next year, that we don't say, okay, these are the roads, but we might try somebody else on that type of thing. So the last thing I'll say is that, if we're going to analyze costs, we have to ask them not only to give us a total number, a fixed price, but well, how did you come up with that number? Otherwise, we'll never know, what rates they're using and how many hours, that's the thing, so.
Okay, Patty, I'm not done
It's-
either yet. I'd like to,
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think if we have Bolton and Mank for our sewer, if we have NJPA for our comp plan, and theoretically, if we end up with WSN, that is 3 different engineering firms that Ted has to work with over the next 6 to 9 months. And to me, there has to be some consistency in what we do here, and to make this easier for the staff and the administration. That's my feel. Dave, you had a question or a comment?
okay, I'm kind of hearing you guys sounding like you're a little bit held hostage by the stuff that's going on. And from my perspective, I think either any of the engineers could come in and take over on what somebody's doing, as could anybody in any kind of construction or anything you're doing. If they're good, competent, they can pick up the wand and they can take off on the next leg of the journey. We're doing a lot of road projects this year. We're doing a lot of sewer. They're going to be on the sewer. I don't know that it's got to be a hostage situation where we got to stick with them because of what we got going on. I don't agree with that. I think having some new eyes and new sight, no matter what you're doing, wherever you're doing it, is a good idea to do, and I think it's time. They've been here for 20 years. I think it's time to do it. It'd be a great year to have them show us what they can do.
So if that was the case, when we looked through those proposals, they all said there was about a 6-week transition period to get up to date on what was happening in the city. And then beyond that, would we have to go out for bids again on the roads to whoever?
We haven't bid anything yet. We're still
Okay.
in the design, so
Okay,
it
we're
would be
still
up
in
to
the design.
whoever we select.
So
to
we
pick
would
up on
have to
that.
go through that process,
Yes.
the design work, and that theoretically takes how long?
Well, they've been working on, like I said, since November, so it's,
So
we're
just
3
to-
months into it now.
So say, for example, we select another engineering firm, now we're out another 3 months on our design work?
I would say
or-
because the engineering, the surveying work, all that is done.
Okay,
The engineering work, they'd want to review all of
Okay.
it. Before they put their stamp on, they're going to want to review all that. That's going to take them some time.
yep,
They're going to have their own takes on things, on how to do things, I'm sure is going to be different between the two groups. So, yeah, there's going to be some delay. I don't know
Right.
truthfully how much of it would be, so.
yeah.
Sure they will.
Commission, do you have any more comments? Any other comments?
I think whoever you choose for a city engineer would figure that they're gonna get some work on this, for projects, 3 projects or whatever. They're not gonna just come to a meeting and look over other consultants. I don't think that's really what they wanna do. I think they wanna have the work in their hands and do the job, just like WSN has done for the past 20 years or whatever. Well, if you're thinking if you wanna hire a city engineer to overlook the work this year a little more, that would be another option maybe. You hired Bolton and Mink and they kind of looked over things.
Doug,
looked
could,
over plans.
sorry to interrupt, could you explain your work history so that the council knows?
I graduated from Brainerd High School and I went to the University of Minnesota, got my degree in civil engineering. And I worked for one city for 38 years. Longevity in a position is a valuable thing too. That's another thing you gotta think about. I mean, everybody came to me because I had 38 years there. After I retired 4 years ago, they were still calling me and emailing me on, how would you do this, how would you do that?
Were you a city employee?
Mhm.
You weren't you weren't contracted to the city, you were employed by the
We
city?
hired consultants
Yeah.
to do select projects, but we did most of the stuff in-house.
They had their own engineering department.
What city?
Coon Rapids.
Okay.
Ted, when's a slow time for you? I gotta phrase this differently.
Okay.
When is it not so busy for you? Is the fall a good time to,
No, our work
what-
we just shift gears. I mean, when we go into The snow, we've, we kind of save that maintenance stuff that we've got in the plant or other, in the equipment for, in between the snow plowing and the flooded, like Monday, I had a flooded transfer for Crowing Power. It was underwater. And we had to call Crowing Power, they had to de-energize, and we went in there and pumped the water out so we can provide, they can keep providing service to that, which wasn't a good circumstances, but I don't have a slow time. There's always something going, there's always a meeting, there's always planning. It's just like City Hall there, it's just you shift gears between the seasons.
Would it be fair to say, and thought we kind of covered this, the projects that we currently have on the table, what we're talking about here, the 3 roads and is about all we're not planning on drumming up anything new right at this moment between now and next November.
I have one thing that might be added to the project, and that was when I, talking about the City Hall parking lot here.
The approach.
The approach and redoing the approach to the City Hall, and that would be the only thing that I could think of that we really have to.
That hasn't already been covered, that already hasn't, and see, that's my point, is once again, everybody knows that I'm all in favor of taking, peeks at these engineers much more closely, but these guys already started the road stuff a long time ago. I agree that it could be done, somebody else could pick up the med, and it might not be a great, but I don't see what you're gonna gain at this point by getting another
might
set of
be-
eyes on 3 roads that are already fully engineered and ready to hit the ground.
We would be
You know.
going into an unknown, as far as I'm concerned.
So that's why I just don't want to miss any window of opportunity to get these things done. Why petroleum is cheap, and, the costs are, foreseeably about the lowest they've probably been for a while. Maybe last year might have been a little bit better, once again, depending on petroleum and everything.
Are we moving forward with this selection today?
We can.
I was under the impression it was for the April meeting. This was discussion, and we're going to move on it in April.
I asked Shar that today, and if we were ready, we can make a motion
Sounds like we're
today.
pretty close to ready, huh?
Well,
Let's see.
what would we have to gain by waiting until the April meeting?
I totally agree. I don't think we should.
We've been talking about roads and
Yeah.
all of that. I thought we were gonna vote on this Bolton and Mink stuff the other night at the regular city council meeting. I thought the consensus was pretty much across the board when I met with these gentlemen, when I met with Ted, that, we were ready to go, but apparently Gary wasn't here and everybody felt that maybe we needed to talk a little bit more. So I don't wanna sound rude here, but I'm getting a little sick of just, these gentlemen went over the engineering stuff on Anchor Point and everything. The Woods, Smith and Knowlton thing aside once again, but we already started the ball rolling with them a long time back. That, we've already done that. That decision was already made a while ago. So I just don't see what's to gain by tabling that with WSN, and let's get this rolling and let's get these things done.
That seems to
And I
be,
like the
kinda where
idea,
I'm-
and
that's
I
where I'm
like, I like the idea that we give Bolton Menk a huge project here, and we can see how they work with us and our city.
And with Ted.
And with Ted.
We've actually run into one problem in one of our road projects of this next year, and it's gonna take some significant engineering, and it might get tabled. The piece on Tamarack where we're realigning the road because we can't hold the road bed in there, they did borings and they found between 8 and 15 feet of peat and muck. So they're waiting for the experts from the boring company to tell them how to do it, and I don't want to go down the road, I don't want to recommend something to the council, and 5 years from now, I got to tear it up again. I want the right answer for it, so.
And there's a case where we go out and we get second opinion. There's a perfect example of something that's not completely drawn up, not finish engineered, and, I understand the points that are being made.
okay, so let me just, a little thought. We've got these projects that Winsor Smith has worked on, and they're scheduled, or they're going to be scheduled, and they're going to be completed this summer. As we get into May and June, and we have new projects that start coming into the wind, what might be coming for fall or something, with Winseth being our engineer, they would be the ones we would consult with, right?
We could go out, go ahead, Daryl.
Not necessarily. This is it's not like you're building a house and you get to cut a new permit. You get a window of construction for roads, and the best job we can do is what we thought we had done this year with WSN, was we actually started back in October talking about roads. And we did, because we found that this last year, we got a late start, because we normally start talking about money and roads after the first of the year. And we ended up doing construction in your neighborhood in
Fall.
fall, and we were lucky to get the roads in. And so we were trying to improve that process, make it, give us a better chance. The people that did their roads very early last spring, they saved thousands of dollars in asphalt costs. And we're hoping to be able to do that again this spring with the construction cycle. So that's why we started so far back, so that we have everything in a row, in a pile, so that in February, March timeframe, we got the bids out on the street, and we got people out there like, that are biting at wanting to do our roads because they're planning for their summer season. After, if we wait, give it to somebody else, and we
Well,
put-
Darrell, I'm not saying we should
put
wait.
a month and a half in.
I'm not saying we should wait, and I don't think we have to wait. I don't think there's a delay now. It's February, it's the middle of February right now. I think, they can be bid and keep the ball rolling. We're not gonna miss anything. They've been engineered, they're going.
Well, they're not, until they've got the bid package ready, they're not on the street.
Sure, but I mean, it's gonna be complete, right, regardless?
But
Yeah.
no other engineer is gonna pick up that engineering work without putting another 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, so is the motion gonna be here to hire Winseth for the year, or for the city engineer, or is it gonna be to finish these projects that we have going on?
Like I said before, I said, what I'm assuming is we're gonna complete the projects we have. We're not gonna name anybody as engineer, this is coming from me. And we get into this fall, we get into the end of August, September, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna look at next year's projects, and we're gonna go and find another firm that everybody's comfortable with before we start anything.
So aside from the road projects that we're talking about now, if something comes up this summer, who is the engineer that you're gonna go and talk to about
I would look
something?
at these other proposals and try to select one, maybe even Bolton and Mink. It's like this
Right.
little piece here that we're talking on the city hall. To add that to the project, we're not talking a lot of money to do that to the project.
Right.
Even engineering. So if we so choose, you could have WSN finish that with the project we have going on. But if we're gonna talk about going in and we're gonna put in 2 blocks of sewer, or we're going to,
Well, we got that townhome that's going in down at Town Square. There's things that are happening now for next year or for whatever that nobody's talked about,
we
but
could still, any of those things that come up, we can have whoever you want review it.
Right, so wouldn't it make sense to have a city engineer through 2017, and then in the fall, we can take a look at again for 2018, but any other projects that come up, they can go out for bids? I mean, just because WSN is our city engineer doesn't mean that they get to have every bid. or
That's
proposal
true.
to come.
in 2016, though, we were talking about road projects. And so we developed this plan, they started surveying, they started doing the costs, and that is going to be the same thing that's going to happen in 2017 for what's happened in 2018. So, I mean, they roll into each other.
It doesn't sound to me, let me just see if I can get both sides here. You're going to be busy with road projects, which would be if you have a problem, you're going to call WSN, because WSN is those people. In the meantime, you're also going to be very well tied up with your septic process flowing, and of course, obviously, you're going to be working with the group at Bolton and Mink. So that pretty much covers it. There might be an odd question here or there that bridge can be crossed, but you shouldn't be needing any particular city. You've got a whole handful of projects going here, which is WSN, and you got this huge project going here, which is Bolton and Mink. So you've got your consultants.
Yeah, the only thing that might come up is, let's say we get the funding for the bridge, and that funding comes in. You as the council can make a selection at that time.
Yeah. And that would be a big separate project that does not necessarily constitute who would be appointed, quote, a city engineer. That's going to be its own
Yes.
ballgame
You
at
can
that
go out for
point.
bids in individual projects.
Yep, yep,
Yep.
Patty,
yep, go ahead.
the only other thing is that planning and zoning sometimes has questions, and they need to bounce it off the city engineer.
Okay.
Who would they call?
And that's
If they
one
have
thing
a
I
question
didn't
next
consider,
week.
so I'm sorry about that. No, I didn't consider that part of it, so.
Would it help if we, how can I say this? For me, I'm going to just tell you, for me, yeah, I like WSN, I like Bolton Meg. Doesn't make a hill of beans to me. I haven't heard anybody talk about, oh, we're going to save $50,000 by going. All I've heard is there's change. Maybe change is good. Maybe change is not good. I don't know. I don't work with these people every day. And I know that when they bid projects, they go out and they get contractors. They'll get contractor number 99 to do this project, and then they get contractor 89 to do another one. And it's the issues that we've had, you know, or could have, are with the contractors. There's somebody's got to watch these people. I don't work with them.
I do work with them. I don't work with Bolton Mink engineers, but I work with people. And if they get a new contract, they're going to be enthusiastic, and they're going to want to come in and impress people.
Right.
And that is a very good thing to have on your side.
Right.
And that's something that we could pass it off, go down another year and, tread water again.
You guys seem
Or
to
we
be
could-
pretty interested in, maybe making a switch. I just don't want to make life difficult for Ted.
Well, I seem to be the only one
P&Z,
interested
But there's got to be,
I'm
you know,
interested,
I'm
interested
defending it, and
I'm
there's a
interested in
point.
making the switch, but I don't think they're going to be doing much of anything in the next 6 months. We've got our projects are set. All we're talking about is a little phone advice maybe, and then we're going to be into fall, and we're going to start about the next set of projects, and that is a time when you can really look at it and say, okay,
Projects aren't
let's...
set to, Brad, they're not bid out, if I understand it right.
Nothing's bid.
They're not bid out.
well, they take care of that. Once it's done, they go out for public.
But
bid.
we,
they
but we,
do.
but we discussed what our plans are going to be for 2018.
Yeah,
So we
that's
know
what I'm
what's
saying.
coming on down the line.
These plans, they're
Yeah.
not bid out, but they're, WSN has done the groundwork. I don't see what's to gain right now by switching the what's been engineered and done is on paper and is ready to roll from WSN. I mean, if we didn't like WSN, then why did we start with them last year? See, that's when we should have made the change, Dave. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
I'm
and
not
we're going to say that
disagreeing with-
next year too, because
Well-
there's going to be other things that are coming up. and-
Right.
And they're going to be
when-
rolling.
And that's
so.
when we get the other things, is when, just like what did we just do with this? We did get this to WSN, we just took it to
Yeah,
Bolton
no,
May.
that's great.
And it was going to WSN.
And that gives
basically,
Ted exposure to
this-
ask engineering
This was
people
started by
questions.
WSN, but we made a switch at a proper time, that's all I'm saying.
And there were two other proposals besides Bolton and Menk, who look pretty darn good also.
Yeah. All,
So,
once, like
Except
Ted
these
says, all
guys
good
are kind
firms.
of, they've got a presence here in town, which I like. I don't know them. I don't know anything about them, other than,
WSN is going to finish the roads. I think that if we're not going to name a city engineer today, or somebody to do that, we should put our foot in the sand and say we're going to do this in July. The reason I say that is, there's going to be other things that we're going to want to do for the budget in October.
Yes.
We want to know who we're talking to then.
there you go.
Yep,
That
there
sounds
you
like
go.
a good plan.
And
So,
Not have a
let's put
city
our foot in the
engineer.
sand and say there's going to be a city engineer named in July meeting. And we'll go forward from there. But WSN is not the city engineer at this point.
And authorize Ted or encourage Ted to use both the engineers that we have hired for projects to feel them out and see.
can
Kinda
I
what's
going-
suggest
Oh.
something? Would you, I mean, are you in a position today to pick one of those four? If you didn't have all this work, is there a favorite?
I have strong feelings for two of them.
Are they the two we're talking about?
One of them is.
Right.
The other one, I'll tell you right now, is SEH.
All right,
SEH is a major player out there
Arrest
and
my
have
case.
a huge
Mm-hmm.
amount of people
Well,
yep.
and expertise.
yep.
all right,
Yep.
so we have, I'm talking to the commission, when we talked about roads for this year, do you guys remember what month we started talking about this? It wasn't any earlier?
I think we started the review in July.
In
End
July.
of July, when I started reviewing
We
roads.
were going to do in
Right.
July.
Because we looked at the capital improvement
Yeah,
plan
yeah,
before
yeah.
we got into the budget.
Yeah,
And so I had an idea, and that's when things started rolling. So July is a good time.
That's right.
so what I'm just saying, if someone could make a decision today, we could decide that, okay, WSN is our engineer, city engineer, until the end of June. And come the 1st of July, we have decided that we're going to go with a new one. And so everybody knows you're going to work from here to here, and everybody can get prepared. I don't know what the issue is with records, but like you've said, Brad, it's like, well, somebody's got to get them, and that'll give them plenty of time to get familiar with what's going on. And then it's done. We don't have to talk about this again. As long as, you guys are okay with it, so.
Can I make a comment?
Yep.
Because one of the things that I heard today and I knew happened was, every once in a while, we call our city engineer, and he spends 5 minutes on the phone with planning and zoning, or Ted, or someone else, maybe even Parks and Rec, who knows who he calls. If we don't decide that we have a city engineer, and we don't name someone as a city engineer, we're gonna have to pay for every single one of those phone calls. So if you do this, what you're going to learn is how much do we actually use that, because we're gonna get a bill. We're gonna get a bill for 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or 2 hours, or some period of time for that effort. So let's go down this road, not name a city engineer, continue with our projects we've got in hand, with the engineers that we've chosen to date, and let's make, who was that other one, SEH? Let's make them who we're gonna call. Ghostbusters. And that way, it'll get you a chance to see 3 sets of engineers. You know how WSN responds, because they've been taking our calls for 20 years. And that way, Ted gets an opportunity to see how much these people charge to answer those questions. So instead of, we contact SEH, tell them what we're gonna do. WSN, we already know what they're gonna do, because they're gonna do our roads through 2017. And Bolton Mink is gonna do our sewer plant. And that way, we get to look at 3 sets of eyes, we get to look at a group of people, and we can make a financial decision on what that city engineer is worth, because we'll be getting bills.
Yeah, that's,
Well, and then budget starts in June. So you're going to have, now, we obviously pay for a city engineer. So you're talking about the difference between contracting them and getting phone calls kind of all-inclusive, or just paying for the subcontractor sublet phone call, 2 ways to contract. Either they'll give you a flat fee monthly to be the city engineer, or you might take a couple $1,000s worth of calls between now and then. My point being is, I just think at the moment, your calls are going to be all based around these projects. Now, Shar brought up a good point that on occasion, P&Z has something that comes up that needs that referral. That's obviously not included in any of these plans.
Well,
But-
and another one that was brought up is, we're gonna do, we're looking at a, what is it, sewer extension
For the townhouses.
for the townhouses. So, since we're not gonna call the city engineer because we don't have one, would I pick SEL? They're gonna be the
SEH.
ones, or SEH, they're gonna be the ones receiving those phone calls.
The problem I see with that is you got Bolton Mink doing the sewer,
They're doing the plan.
they're doing the plant, but they're gonna have to plan for this addition.
No,
No,
It's,
these are just,
as far as the townhouses, I think there's been a change. As far as my understanding, things have gotten withdrawn. They're stepping back and taking a second look at it. There's still something to go forward, but I'm not sure to what volume. We've already used WSN to review some of the initial data that we got from them as far as elevations and the flows to the collection system. So with, some of the work is already done that we're going to be looking at. But yeah, might be a sewer extension, and if
there is, then the council decides to get one of these engineering firms to take a look at it.
yep.
I
And
mean,
right now with Bolton and Mink looking at the treatment plant, I would give them the call, so. I mean, if that's what you so choose.
sounds like the issue that we have is, how do you transition?
Right.
So
Right.
maybe we should, not to delay it, but maybe we should have a transition plan. I don't know.
Well, I think that
I
is
don't know.
what, to have them both there and then do something in the fall, but you gotta caution, if Winston Smith knows they're on notice, and they got these 3 roads in, and they're gonna be out of here, the bills are gonna increase, you know? I mean, they're gonna grab a little extra cash if they can. If somebody's got the incentive and knows they're gonna be around for a while, they're gonna work with you more. So it's kinda, and I still disagree with you, the fact that it's hard to transition right in the middle of STREP. These guys can do it. I can do it. You could have somebody build in your house and not be happy with them and call me up, and you wouldn't notice a skip beat in that project. I mean, you wouldn't. And
Well,
I think that's
You
true.
gotta talk to these guys, don't talk to me.
Well, no, but I
They're the
mean,
ones
that's
that
just
have
my
to
point. I
transition.
mean, these
Yeah.
people are good. They know what they're doing. They
Yeah.
can make changes.
Yeah.
They can look at something, review it real quickly, you know? The question I'd like to ask them is, hey, you guys, do you have time? Can you take that wand and take off with it? I don't know. I mean, that's a fair question to ask them.
It's one of the questions I asked, and
Yeah.
they said that they have the staff available to, you know, these Bolton and Mink and the SEHs, they have the staff available where it's no problem for them to take something over. But there is going to be the catch-up period.
Well.
And you got to remember, the other thing is that, just to remind the council, when you guys authorized WSN last fall to start the design, if I remember, it was design, bidding, and the oversee of the project is what you authorized them to do.
So there's already.
A contract.
They've already approved a contract.
With
They
WSN.
can't add charges onto that contract.
That's what I was bringing up.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
that's set.
But
Nickel and dime it 'cause it's set.
I'm not saying that they are, but I am saying that's kind of if people had the opportunity, they would. I mean, that's human nature.
Well, but they, you know, they've been around for a long time, and they say they don't charge for calls, and I don't see the bills. I don't know if Mike, I don't know that they do that.
Well, here's what I see. Number one, we have to recognize Ted and the commission's recommendation. They're the ones who are going to work with them. We, in my opinion, need a city engineer for public works, planning and zoning, so for those day-to-day calls that somebody needs an answer on, there has to be somebody designated. And fine, you could call SEH or ABC or whoever, but to me, that is, to me, that's just a lot of confusion and chaos, whereas I think if we designate WSN until July or through the end of the year, and then in October during budgeting, you know, we start to look at our other, we start to have a better look, deeper look at the engineering firms, we do that. But I think it would be really irresponsible not to name a city engineer for our public works and our planning and zoning. And we can, if a project pops up, we can absolutely go out for bids.
Can I throw a twist to that, Patty?
Sure.
Why wouldn't I? I agree totally with what you're saying, other than one thing.
Okay.
I would like to name Bolton Mink as the engineer for the city until July, and give Ted the opportunity to see how they respond, because we have seen how WSN has responded
Right.
over 18 or 20 years.
Aren't we going to have Bolton and Mick for
As we're
Mick
gonna
for our
have
sewer
WSN.
expansion?
Yeah.
But for our sewer, that's a major project. So, I mean, I would think that Ted is going to get a firsthand experience and
Not going
knowledge
to
of
give
how
the
they're
rest
going
of the departments an opportunity to have them be the call guy on how they're going to respond to it. It's a temporary thing till July. And I don't know, what you guys think of that? Maybe it'll be,
I can live with that.
well, I'm not making a motion, I'm just throwing it out, but I think change is important. And it
I don't-
never is easy.
I don't think that's the issue. I think we can all recognize that. I think we have to have really good reasons on why we're making the change. And that we do it in a logical way that makes sense for our staff and the city.
That actually is, has, you know, the logic that I was trying to convey was, let's not stop WSN from keeping rolling on these roads right now. Let's approve Bolton and Mink, and I think as far as who, to bring in the third one, you know, and then we're trying all three, I think, you know, that is maybe getting to where we're, You know, we're too much. You know, if you feel that there's a need for, I mean, I get that there's other staff here that needs to make the occasional phone call. We're not in, related to these projects we're discussing in front of us, you know, so, you know my feelings.
Yep. Are we ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we hire Bolton and Mink through June, review in August, and approve the projects as they sit. as
I'll
of right
second
now.
that.
Comment?
Yeah.
Are you okay with this?
Yep, I can live with
Everybody?
it.
I don't have to work with them. You guys do.
Is there a second? You
I'll
seconded
second.
it, Dave? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. Motion carried.
All right.
And just, like I said, we just reviewed the road projects with all of the utilities, so the utilities have getting a chance if they have any work to do in the area. Otherwise, things seem to be progressing. They've started on the right-of-way stuff, the right-of-way plots. And I'm looking forward to working with Bolton and Mink for the wastewater plant. We're all excited about it to get going, and
Keep us posted, please, how it's going.
I'm gonna try to stand up at the council meetings and give you an update where we're at as
I
far
would
as the
be
plan.
very curious.
And you're, like I said, if you wanna come to a meeting, with these people, just let me know so I get it posted properly. They'll probably be down either here or at the wastewater plant. as we
I would
get
like
into
to
this.
go, I mean,
Yeah.
if you or Shar could let me know when they are, as much as I can. I don't know.
Yeah,
but-
I understand,
Yeah.
so.
So as I understand this, Bolton Mink is going to be our city engineer of record, and they will be at our public works meetings, starting effective next month.
Well, I think you'll see both Dave and Bolton and Mink sitting here, WSN and Bolton and Mink sitting here, because one is gonna be working on roads and one will be our city engineer for the other things. So
Okay.
And you'll contact them and let them know?
I will go through it with them, both of them. Yep, and we have to get the proposal signed by the mayor for the Bolton and Mink,
For the sewer plant.
yeah, for the sewer plant.
Right.
And the city engineer.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay?
Meeting adjourned.
thank you.
Don't we have to vote on it?
Thank you.
We did vote on it.